two.
Welcome back to Nashville Live. This is Alvin Augustus Jones. Trust you're having a great and wonderful day. I appreciate the opportunity to come into your home to share with you powerful individuals that are making a difference in the lives of so many persons around the community. We're excited that we saved the best for last. Her name is Pam Lewis, extraordinary businesswoman, and also a person that has embraced me and has shown me a lot about what's important in our community. And how you doing, Pam?
It's a pleasure to be here, sir.
It's a pleasure to
Thank you
be
for
with
having
you.
me.
I was fortunate to get to know you through a conversation I had with Mayor Tom Miller, former Mayor Tom Miller. And he said, there's one source, one person that you need to meet, and he said you were the person. What is it about your personality and what you've been doing to, I guess, help others around the community succeed that has been, I guess, the foundation of our community? You are one of our pillars, and we appreciate that.
Well, you're kind to say that. You know, they don't call this a volunteer state for nothing.
Okay.
So I think that I was brought up in upstate New York with parents that were very much community activists. And so I grew up giving back. And my dad was always really involved in our church and was in charge of the building and grounds committee and all that. And mother did a lot of volunteer work. So I grew up believing that it was important to make a difference and to give back. And really, I think that the old adage to those much is given, much is expected, and I believe that. And you know, I was cleaning out my purse and I had all these coins, and I thought I'm just going to leave those coins around. So I have some around my house, and every time I look at a coin, I say a prayer. It's just to remind me to be grateful and to bless, to count my blessings and to say a little prayer to God for taking care of me, because He took care of me, and I can give back to other people. So.
Tell me about your media firm. What does your media firm do, and how have you been able to distinguish yourself in such a crowded field here in Nashville?
Well, I started, I started the company, golly, in '85. You know,
Okay.
moved here in '84, and I always call it the low-hanging fruit has
Okay.
always been the music industry, the entertainment industry, but we've really diversified now, and so we're doing authors and restaurants. We've had a perfume manufacturer. We work with the Americana Music Triangle. I've worked with several museums. So I think that's what makes us different. We are located on Music Row, but we don't just do music, and we certainly don't just do country music. And we pride ourselves on putting together creative, cost-effective campaigns. We have in-house graphic design, we have in-house social media, and then we do all the traditional media as well, press releases, electronic press kits. We try to be as full service as possible. And we tried to, I think one of the things about my profession is that I think publicists are sort of distrusted because they are maybe blowing smoke or perceived as exaggerating. And so what we try to do is promise less and deliver more.
Okay.
You know, I'm nothing without good word of mouth. And so what I want is somebody to feel like they're getting really good value and personalized service. So thank you for having so many of my clients today, and hopefully they did a good job.
Each and every one of them did an extraordinary job, and they made the difference. Now, talking about making the difference, you served for a period of time in Franklin. Tell me about that, and why did you decide to do that?
Well, you know, sometimes things happen and then you get sort of righteously indignant, and that was the case with me. And I thought, you know, I'm sick of all this growth. They're ruining, we don't have our infrastructure in place. We've got too much traffic. They're ruining historic resources. And so you do stupid things like you run for office, and everyone that tells you to run lies and tells you, oh, there's one meeting a week. No, there is not. It's a lot of work. And when I went into office, I could see perfectly. And by the time I was out of office, I needed glasses. So because there was so much eye strain, you never look at your community again. You don't look at politics the same. I think I was very jaundiced about politics, and I have a different view now. And I'm still involved. I mean, I had a 7:30 meeting this morning. I'm on the Housing Commission for Williamson County for Franklin, and so I learned a great deal. I really did. And I probably would have run again, except I wanted to spend time with my family, and my dad was starting to fail in health, and I wanted to be able to get home more often. And when you have so many meetings, I mean, Tom was a wonderful mayor, but he had a lot of meetings. And I remember one October, I had to be at 16 meetings in 1 month, and
Oh, wow.
they were mandatory meetings.
Wow.
And that's also, I was the only one on the board that worked in Nashville, so I was up and down 65 trying to make it to meetings, you know. And so I think it was really one of the hardest jobs I've ever done. It's the truth.
Now, there's a book that is very popular entitled A Tennessee Yankee. How can we have the combination of a Yankee, Tennessee? What is that all about?
Well, I love Mark Twain, and he had a Connecticut Yankee was his book.
Okay.
And, you know, everyone has said to me over the years, my friends have said, you know, you ought to write a book. You ought to write a book.
Mm.
Well, you know, one of my claim of fame is I always say I was involved with two phenomena. One was MTV. I was on the groundbreaking of MTV right out of college, and that was such an interesting phenomena to be involved with, which is a whole other sidebar. And then I started working with this unknown Oklahoma crooner named Garth Brooks. He was my first client for management, and he exploded, and so it was an incredible ride. So people always want you to write about, you know, Garth Brooks stuff, and I'm kind of like, golly, there have been so many books and specials done about Garth. What in the world could I possibly bring to the table?
Right.
So what I started to think about was, you know what, my life changed when I bought this house, and that sounds kind of crazy, but I was looking for about 2 years for a house, and I wanted a historic home with acreage.
Okay.
Not that easy to find. And through a total fluke, which I would call an act of God, I found out about this house, was able to purchase it through the Resolution Trust Company, and my life changed. There were people that I moved to Williamson County, and I think there's such a sense of community in Franklin that even though Nashville's an amazing community, I love living here. It's much more urban.
Right.
It's much larger, and so the sense of community is not as prevalent, I don't believe.
Right.
And I think I was able to carve out a life for myself in Franklin that I would not have been able to do. And if I had just bought a, you know, nice big house somewhere, had a, you know, in a subdivision somewhere, things would have been different. So because of that experience, I got involved in historic preservation. I ultimately ran for office. I met a plethora of people I never would have come across in a million years because they weren't people I would meet on Music Row.
Right.
And my life became so much more enriched. And I made a kind of a challenge to myself to finish the book before. It was actually the command post for the Confederacy during the Battle of Franklin. So we were getting ready to celebrate our 150th anniversary of the Battle of Franklin, and I said, I'm going to get this book done in time for the anniversary. So I did, and it's just been a vanity project, to be honest, but it was a hard thing to do. And what I realized, Alvin, is that I'm so used to being behind people and pushing them in their dream, whether it's a book or a music project or something, that it was really hard for me to do it for myself. And I kept putting it off and being a procrastinator. And I was like, darn it, I'm going to get this done. And I made myself do it. And so, you know, it was fun. Even just posing for a photo, I was like, oh, I feel so vain. This is crazy, you know.
But
it was fun.
It's a powerful book, and we appreciate you
thanks.
sharing that. One of the things
It's a
we've been
quick
doing
read.
all
It's not War and Peace.
but it's a great book, and I learned so much from reading it. One of the things we've been doing of this series is finding out something about an individual that we may not have known. And you was telling me a few moments ago about a situation of adversity that your faith had allowed you to overcome. Would you share that story?
Sure. Well, there's been several things. But one of the things that I think was very pivotal in my life was I was working the summer of '77. I was working a couple of jobs and taking a calculus class, and I was stung by a bee in the head. And I swatted the bee, and it stung me twice. So it stung me about here and here. And I was working at a camp, and my job was to sign in the people that would drive in and register, take their money and register their information and their license, et cetera. And so this little guardhouse had a metal desk, a rotary phone, an air conditioner, and there was a box with some cleaning supplies in it. And that's about it, and my calculus books. And so I was about 3 miles from everyone else, you know. And by the time I registered all this information for this car that was coming through, I felt really bad. And I was like, what is going on here? And I went to dial the phone to call for help, because that was before cell phones, you know. I didn't have a cell phone. And I looked, and my fingers were so fat that I had a really hard time dialing the rotary phone,
Okay.
and I passed out,
Wow.
and I hit my head on the desk.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily, through the grace of God,
Mm-hmm.
my boss drove through
Mm-hmm.
a little while later, and he would always throw his hand out. Half the time he wouldn't even stop. He would just wave, you know. And he noticed that the door was ajar, and I was lying down, and he called 911, and I had a near-death experience. And at the time, I just thought, you know, every bone in my body ached when I got
Wow.
through this. I mean, they had to do the paddles and do all that stuff, you know, very,
Ooh.
very kind of TV-ish.
Right.
And so, you know, I really didn't know what had happened to me in our house. We never talked about it. I had to go through desensitization for bee stings and all this stuff. And years later, I moved to Tennessee, and I picked up a book called Life After Life by Raymond Moody.
Okay.
And I started reading it. I'm like, you know what? Started talking about near-death experience. And I said to my mom, I think I had one of these. And so then if you survive something like that, then the question is, why did I
Sure.
survive?
So
And
why
what
do you,
am I
why do you
supposed
think
to
you
do?
survived? Why do you think you survived?
I think I survived because I think it would have, I remember thinking, if I die, this is going to kill my mom. This is really going to devastate my mother. So I always say, where I was going was the most pleasant, euphoric, ecstatic experience I've ever felt in my life. So if I ever had a fear of dying, I certainly don't. And I would say anybody out there, don't be afraid. But secondly, I would say that a mother's love brought me back, and I really believe that. And I'm very close to my mom, still am. And I think I had to look at, okay, what am I supposed to do with my life? Well, make enough money that I can be, you know, I don't have to be a burden to anyone, and also to give back, and to, you know, try to help people.
Sure. Was there a scripture that kind of, you know, you felt kind of capitalized this whole situation, or passage or anything? Because I know the book of Philippians seemed to be close to you.
Yeah, Philippians. You know, it says, and I'm not a biblical scholar. I apologize, but there's a passage, and it talks about whatever's good, whatever's beautiful, whatever's focus on these
Right.
things. And that's, to me, I mean, I have it taped to my computer.
Sure.
And
That particular passage is Philippians, the 4th chapter and the 8th verse, and it gives 8 things to kind of think. You know, a lot of people in their tradition call it mindfulness. Think on things that are lovely. Think on things that are pure. If there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things. And so Pam has let us know that during her time of testing, she needed to think and focus on certain things in order for her to get out of this near-death situation. Perhaps you're in a near-death situation and you need to get out, and you can learn a lot from her story. Make sure you get a copy of her book entitled A Tennessee Yankee, and to connect with her. We want you to know that this broadcast is made possible by you calling this number, 1-800-232-9855, or visiting www.tct.tv. Because of you supporting this station, we're able to bring in quality individuals like her who are making a difference in the lives of individuals, and also helping people to become their highest and best self. So please, right now, call this number. I'm going to give it to you again, 1-800-232-9855. And just like she had the mind of Christ and has the mind of Christ, you can have the mind of Christ as well and be successful in your life. Also, if you want to send something in, you can send it to TCT, Post Office Box 1010, Marion, Illinois, 62959. Well, Pam, I appreciate you coming in and being
Thank
a
you
part
very
of the
much.
broadcast.
My pleasure.
It's a delight always to be around you. You're making such a difference, and I appreciate the fact that you're willing to share your love and your kindness to me as a stranger and everyone you come in contact with. Thank you so very much for tuning in. This is Alvin Augustus Jones, and may you have a remarkable and amazing day. God bless you.